Hey guys, Brian Keene back with you again. Today we are in Ray Myers Hollow, Pennsylvania, which is the real-life version of my fictional Lahorns Hollow. Lahorns Hollow is, of course, the setting for my novels Dark Hollow, Ghost Walk, and a number of short stories. One of which, The Ghosts of Monsters, is what I'm going to be reading to you today. This story takes place after the events of Dark Hollow and Ghost Walk, and events from both of those novels are referenced in this story. This is sort of a denouement, if you will. The moon peeked down through the treetops. That's weird. What? The moon is red. Roy shrugged. Yeah, I know. Well, I wonder what made it do that, Sally asked. Pollution, maybe? It's a hunter's moon, he explained. That's what my daddy and my grandpa used to call it. Were they hunters? Smiling, Roy nodded. Best damn hunters you've ever seen. How about you? Do you hunt? Sure. Ever hunt here? In Lahorns Hollow? No, not yet. I usually hunt in Adams County, out by Gettysburg. I need to find a new place though. There's too much posted property and the game is all skittish. Roy ducked under a low-hanging branch and then pulled it out of the way until Sally had passed by. Then he performed a mock bow, making a sweeping gesture with his arm. Sally giggled. Thank you, sir. My pleasure. They continued down the narrow, winding trail, heading deeper into the forest. The woods were dark and still. There were no birds or insects. Neither one of them minded. That just meant that their impromptu midnight stroll was mosquito-free. Roy gripped the flashlight in one hand, moving the beam back and forth in front of them. An old blanket was tucked into the crook of his arm. His other hand held Sally's. Her long pink nails grazed against his skin, making him shiver with excitement. The crotch of his jeans seemed to grow smaller, more confining. His erections strained against the zipper. This isn't really the Hollow, Sally said. That's miles from here, near that ghost walk where all those people died last year. The real Hollow is all burned down now. Yeah, but this is still part of that same forest. People call it Lahorns Hollow, even if the actual Hollow isn't here anymore. So how come you've never hunted here? Roy shrugged. Never had the chance before. I live all the way out in Hanover. I don't get to this side of the county very often. So what brought you out this way tonight, then? He shrugged again. I don't know. Tired of drinking at the same old bar, I guess. I needed a change of scenery. Figured I'd see how things looked out this way. Sally gave her hips a little shake. And have you liked what you've seen so far? Yeah, so far. Me too. I'm glad you decided to have a drink in my regular bar. You go there often? Every Friday night. You come back next week and I'll be waiting. Maybe we can do this again. Well, we didn't do anything yet. The night is young. Roy smiled. His erection grew harder. So, he asked, are you married? Nope. Boyfriend? She shook her head. Nah, only men in my life are my father and my two brothers. You'd like them. They're big hunters too. Oh yeah? Yeah, every year they take a week off work for deer season and go up to Potter County. Roy paused, let go of her hand, and lit a cigarette. He offered Sally one, but she declined. Don't worry, he said. I've got some of those Listerine thingies in my pocket. She took his hand again and squeezed. I don't mind, and besides, those things burn if you... What? She seemed flustered. If you put one on your tongue and then you go down on somebody, it burns. Roy's laughter echoed through the darkness. When he shined the flashlight on Sally, she was blushing. Don't laugh! She punched his arm. Don't worry. I won't put one on my tongue if you don't want me to. She arched an eyebrow. Is that a promise of things to come? We'll be doing more than that as soon as we find a good spot. I still don't understand why we had to come all the way out here. Well, not to be rude, but I don't want to get stuff on my upholstery. What kind of stuff? Now it was Roy's turn to seem flustered. You know, bodily fluids. Sally snickered. You're really something, Roy. I'm glad I met you tonight. So am I. Still, I don't know why we couldn't have just spread that old blanket out in the cab of your truck. He swept the flashlight beam in a wide arc, letting it glide across the dark tree trunks and boulders. And miss all this ambiance? Aren't you afraid of monsters? Sally teased. Roy snorted. What monsters? Oh, come on. You've never heard all the legends about these woods? The goat man who plays his pipes at night and seduces women? That writer guy from Shrewsbury supposedly went nuts while working on a book about him? Adam Seneff, the one who escaped from the nut house last year and killed those people on the Ghost Walk? Yeah. Well, he was batshit crazy. But he wasn't the only one who was supposed to have seen the goat man. And there's more. The black hound dog with red eyes. Balls of light that float around through the forest. Ghosts. Demons. Some people say that the trees move on their own. It's all bullshit, Roy said. There's no such thing as monsters. You don't believe any of the stories about this place? Well, I know that a lot of people have died here over the years, but that doesn't mean it was monsters. It was just people acting like people. Human beings are evil enough. We don't have to invent stories about monsters. Why? Don't tell me you believe all that stuff. Sally pouted. I don't know. A little, maybe. Roy stopped in the middle of the trail and shined the beam across the ground. He released her hand, sat the flashlight down on a rock, and unfolded the blanket. This looks like a good spot. You read my mind. Come here. He pulled her close. They kissed, tongues entwining hungrily. Their hands explored each other's bodies. Sally shivered. You cold? She nodded, nuzzling his chest. A little. And a little nervous. I mean, we just met. You sure that's all? Well, what else would it be? I don't know. Maybe you're afraid of the goat man. She hugged him tighter. You've got to admit, it's a little creepy out here at night. Don't worry, he said. There are no monsters in Lahorn's Hollow. Then he pulled out the knife and stabbed her in the neck. He let her body sag onto the blanket and watched it jerking and twitching. Sally's eyes were wide. She clawed at the hilt jutting from her throat and made faint gobbling noises. Her hands grew slick with her own blood. Roy could no longer contain his excitement. He pulled down his zipper and let his erection bob in the cool night air. No monsters, he repeated. Just hunters, like me. The monsters are all ghosts now. I'm the real thing. Thanks. We'll see you next time.